Hey, internet friends, cousins, and scoundrels. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Pull up a chair, honey, and let's have a chat. And since the algorithm really likes it when you interact with the content, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe since you're here. Now I ain't gonna hold you. Let's get right into this.
I know that a lot of you have decided to black out this season of LAMH, and I too was considering giving this toxic mess a break. But Mel decided to film this season, and I was honestly curious as to how she would be portrayed on the show, especially in light of all the off-show shenanigans that have taken place since the show wrapped last year. Not to mention, this production team as a whole has a track record of excluding, major real-world occurrences for certain cast members. So needless to say, the interest for me was pretty high. And let me tell you, Carlos King stayed right on brand with the fuckery, because we open up episode 1 with Martell and his barely sober, enabling minstrel show ass mammy sitting there in the first 5 minutes of this episode, pretending as if Mel has had Martell arrested for just a text message. Just a plain old, hey big head type late night drunk text that you would get from an ex instead of what he was really arrested for. Okay. And that was him sending a snip of a sex tape that they made as a married couple to her. And he threatened to release it if she wouldn't stop combating the lies that he was spewing on IG. Why didn't we open up with the truth? Marlene is a fucking liar. Okay. She's a fucking liar, and she's siding with Martell as he sits there and lies. She has the nerve to say that Martell was a good dad and a good husband, and Mel should not have gotten the law involved, and she should just handle her business. Well, Marlene, she was handling her business. Don't you see how dumb that sounds? She handled her business, right? She had his ass arrested for threatening to release revenge P on her. And this is why Marlene just doesn't get any grace from me, okay? She's not going to get any concessions or benefits of doubt because she knows full well that Martell and his stupid ass concubine was plotting to have that tape released. She knows that. Even if everyone, let's just say this, okay? Let's just say that even if everyone, right, that watches the show may not know it, right? Because you watch the show and you go home, right? You don't follow up on any social media platform. You're not on Twitter. You don't give a damn. You just watch the show and you go home. There are people that are like that, right? But if you are in Huntsville, okay, and you are closely connected to this circle of people on the show, you know what took place. You know it. So Marlene's sitting there pretending not to know what has at least been said, and to at least challenge that question, ask Martell to his face, hey, this is what I've heard. Is it true? And let him lie. She's going along with, oh, it was just a simple text message. Just a simple text message. Hey, how you doing this afternoon? Text message. Get the fuck out of here. It's nonsense. On top of all of this, Marlene is sitting there using the kids to blame and shame Mel for having Martell picked up for some shit he did. Okay, and that is wild as fuck to me. But this is what goes on in our community. You have these grown men being coddled and sheltered by Black women when they are out here damaging the community, their families, and creating broken homes left, right, and center. And at the same time, these women villainize the victims. This shit is pathetic. There was no you got kids discussion when Martell was cheating, or when he was leaving out of the house to go fuck on some random during the worldwide health crisis. When the governments around the entire world said stay home. Not to mention, during that time, he had a whole newborn. So that baby could have caught anything, right? There was no you got kids when Martell allowed his side hoe to torment and taunt Mel and their children on the internet. The thing they like to bring up is forever. When it pertains to Martell, there was no you got kids when Martell was plotting to release Revenge P against his ex. Nope. Just silence. These raggedy ass masculinas are only there to use that "you got kids" mantra to shame and blame other women for holding raggedy ass men accountable. That's the only time you will hear "you got kids." You don't hear it against the men. You only hear it against the woman. This conversation between these two is so disingenuous. It's bullshit, and they know it's bullshit. Martell even looks like he's trying to hold back laughter throughout this whole fucking sofa talk. It's dumb. But he goes on to say that Mel keeps doing things to him. No, sir. No, sir. This right here is a blatant lie, right? Mel is minding her money-making ass businesses with an S, right? While you're eating coleslaw's booty, squatting in people's homes, and waiting for Mel to drop off you a plate so that you can taste something besides Skittle-flavored shit crumbs. Mel is not fucking with you, okay, Martell? And then he goes on to say that she had him arrested because she's trying to get full custody of the kids. Well, first of all, Martell took Mel to court for full custody first, okay? And then he lost. In my opinion, because he couldn't have his way, right? He decided to abuse the children, according to the court documents covered in a major mainstream publication that came out a few months ago, right? Mel needs full custody of the kids at this point, right? She wanted to share custody with Martell initially, but she's left with no choice but to seek full custody at this point, okay? It's not without reason. Then Martell goes on to say that kids need their fathers more than their mothers. And this is just some red-pilled incel babble, because Martell says he can't handle all 5 of his kids at once. He's made public service announcements to say how overwhelmed he is when he has his own kids. And honestly, listen, as a product of a 2-parent household, I'm going to tell you that both parents are important in a child's life, and preferably both of them in the same household. But if one parent is displaying behaviors that are reckless and detrimental not only to themselves but to the children, then that parent needs to be excluded or excused from their parental duties, right? And that's just period. Marlene is not going to hold her sons accountable for their actions. I don't think she's ever held either of her sons accountable for their actions, which is why one of them is back in jail now. Martell was on the path to being a career criminal, in my opinion, but his connection to Mel put him on a different path. A path he has not been able to find himself back on since they split. This man has no motion and has been floundering and grasping at straws since Mel walked away. It's time for Martell to grow the fuck up. He needs to get some counseling so he can learn how to accept that he ruined his marriage and his family. He hasn't come to terms with that, and he is stuck oscillating between stages 1 and 2 of the 5 stages of grief, in my opinion. And truth is, many people move through these stages without additional outside help. But Martell has shown that at this stage, he's clinical, in my opinion, and he needs deep therapy in order to help him process this astronomical loss. And this is a huge loss for him, because just like Mel, he too was young when they got married. And I don't think that Martell has ever lived on his own or provided for himself by himself. It's always been a group effort for him. He's always had assistance. He went from his mama's house to Mel's house. At his mama's house, she cooked, she cleaned, she took care of him. And what did Mel do when they got married and lived together? The same thing. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of him. But she also pushed him to be more, paid for him to go back to school, and they became partners in life and in business. And that was because of her ambition and drive. That was her. That was Mel's motion, right? She was a train engine, and Martell was a car attached to that engine. Once that engine is detached from the car can no longer move on its own. It can only move if it is pushed or pulled. That is it. That is all. Martell is not an engine. So he's looking for another engine to help him along, right? He just hasn't found her, but he's looking. And the problem with Coleslaw is that she's also a car. So she can't help Martell. She can only link herself to him, but together they ain't going nowhere. They ain't got no motion. They can't get none either unless one of them finds an engine to hook up to. And this is why they are pathetic together, right? Mel said in her confessional that she wanted Martell to be a man. And I really agree with this statement because Martell, in my opinion, has never had to be a man and really take care of himself, right? And everything that means to take care of himself. He doesn't have any follow through. He doesn't have any real drive or ambition. He is in a stationary waiting mode. He needs someone to push him. And that's not really a man. You know what I mean? It's a kid. It's a boy. He's stuck at a 22 or 23, right? He's stuck there because he has never had to really assert himself. Anyway, that was the first half of this episode, which was pretty much some bullshit. It was Martell and his mama lying about why he was arrested and trying to spin the narrative that Martell is a victim, right? When he is the one causing all of the mayhem and destruction. The second half of this episode, I will probably cover in a different video, so this one isn't too long. So if you watched the first episode, drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about the lies Martell and his semi-lucid mama was spewing. She said he was a good daddy and a good husband. But child, I guess you really need to consider the source when it comes to those statements, right? Again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, that you know now.